Around 500 BCE, another major religion of India, Buddhism, was born. This is the only religion that originated in India but spread and flourished more outside its borders. Buddhism took strong roots in China, Tibet, Cambodia, Thailand, Japan, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Korea, and Sri Lanka, and it is still very popular in many of these countries. Buddhist monks also went to the west to far-off places such as Egypt, Syria, and Greece. It is believed that as many as 84,000 monks were sent out of the country to propagate the spiritual message of the Buddha. According to historian Professor Mahaffy, Buddhist monks preached in Palestine and Syria a couple of centuries before the birth of Christ. Prince Siddhartha, who was by now married and had a son, left the palace in search of enlightenment. He performed penance for 12 years by going through the extreme degrees of physical austerity and discomfort. Towards the end of this period of penance, he once nearly fainted from hunger and exhaustion. He then realized that by the physical torture alone, man would not attain the spiritual goal. He therefore gave up extreme degrees of penance just as he had given up the extreme degrees of indulgence 12 years previously. He adopted the new middle path of moderation. This would be the cornerstone of his spiritual practices in the future. Buddha's avowed declaration not to fall before the worldly temptations Mara and at the same time not to succumb blindly to the demands of the extreme renunciation sannyasin is truly a major transformation in religious philosophy. The Buddha also asserted the role of free will in human development. Although Buddhism became separated as a new faith, Hinduism adopted the spiritual thinking of Buddha in a positive and effective manner. When anyone insulted Lord Buddha, he simply ignored him, saying, "I do not accept what you offered me. Your gift of abuses therefore stays with you." He introduced a policy of tact in place of arguments and quarrels. Later, his famous disciple, Emperor Ashoka, laid down his arms after a successful though bloody war in quest of peace and accord. His reign of 40 years is considered unparalleled in history, as he may have been seen as the first ruler to condemn war without qualification. Buddha taught compassion for all, including those who have caused harm to us, to return good for evil, benevolence for injury, love for hate, and compassion for harm are some of the characteristics of the qualities of the Buddhi mind. Buddha also pointed out that human happiness is completely interdependent. Helping others helps us. The message of the Buddha conquered many lands without sending a single fighting soldier anywhere. Buddha also rejected the caste system outright and preached religion without the rituals. After the Great Enlightenment, Buddha immediately saw the need to propagate his vital knowledge to all humanity. he also met his wife Yashoda and son Rahul, whom he had left earlier. He explained that regardless of any material possessions that a son may inherit from his father, the legacy of spiritual teachings is much more worthy and important in life. The essential message of Buddha, the wise one, however, lies in the core philosophy of meditation. In place of fruitless controversies and debates of complicated theories on the spiritual subjects, he advocated the simple technique of meditation. When a man sits in deep concentration, awake and focused on his thought processes, undisturbed by the din of the world, watchful of all events passing through his mind, he becomes an intelligent witness to the entire goings on of his body and thus realizes the truth of life. Buddhism also attracted a large following from all walks of life because of its basic tenet. Dharma stands for the greatest good of the greatest number of people. Its simple philosophy appeals to many people regardless of the faith they may be following. Buddha taught not only of the behavior arti away from sin and vice, but he also taught the transformation of the mind or vritti so that there is no inclination towards sin and vice. The ancient method of meditation and change of the inner heart or antahakaran became more strongly pronounced in Buddha's doctrine. At the same time, he also stressed right association, satsanga, as the preliminary step. Buddha strongly believed in the influence of companionship. The company of holy and virtuous person has a tremendous effect on our lives. He therefore advocated affiliation with a spiritual congregation, the Sangha. Both Jainism and Buddhism discarded the classical language of Sanskrit in favor of the local common language of the masses. The language used in the ancient Buddhist scripture is Pali, which is a modified form of Prakrit. The sensual man is a slave to his passions, and pleasure-seeking is degrading and vulgar. To satisfy the needs of life is not evil. To keep the body in good health is a duty, for otherwise we shall not be able to light the lamp of wisdom and keep our minds strong and clear. Forbearance and patience is the highest asceticism. He is not a recluse who harms another, nor is he an ascetic who molests others. King Emperor Ashoka, who became a Buddhist after the fierce battle of Kalinga, served not only the people of his own kingdom, but even those of the neighboring countries. He conquered the hearts of these people without fighting any war on their soil. In India, a tradition of non-invasion was thus established, which has never been broken. Buddha's teaching continued unabated. Introspection or Adhyatma, the jewel of the ancient spiritual wisdom of India, became the hallmark of Buddhist philosophy.